You cannot. You are not ready. Stay where it is safe. No one wants to hear you. You thought the voice was coming from outside, but the most powerful system does not control you by force. It teaches you how to control yourself. The system says you cannot. Then one day, you begin saying, I cannot, and the program disguises itself as your identity. Sometimes the system speaks through strangers, sometimes through people who love you, and sometimes it speaks through you. But the moment you recognize the voice, you are no longer completely unconscious beneath its command. Shit, I realize. A thought can exist inside you without possessing the authority to define you. The pause interrupts the program. The choice returns your agency. The matrix does not need to close the door. If it can teach you never to approach it, question the voice. Find the choice. Reclaim your authorship. Who wrote the code?
Has your inner voice ever said any of the following? You're not ready. You're not enough. Do not embarrass yourself. Stay where it's safe. Here's one of the most disturbing possibilities presented by the Matrix. The system does not need to keep speaking to you once it has taught you how to speak to yourself. Maybe one of those thoughts is your inner voice. But where did that come from? The Matrix achieves its greatest victory when its voice becomes indistinguishable from your own. Welcome to episode 2 of our limited series on the Matrix. In episode 1, we explored the Matrix as a mirror. The world outside reflecting the world inside, the visible prison revealing the invisible prison. But today we go deeper, because a mirror only reflects what stands before it. Code, on the other hand, does something more. Code gives instruction. Code defines possibility. Code determines what the system recognizes, permits, rejects, and repeats. And the most powerful code is the code we no longer recognize as code. It feels natural. It feels personal. It feels like identity. We commonly imagine control as something obvious. A dictator, a prison guard, a weapon, a locked door, an authority giving commands. But the most sophisticated form of control is often internal. The outer command becomes an inner expectation. The prohibition becomes the anxiety. The punishment becomes the shame. The surveillance becomes self-consciousness. The system no longer needs to say, do not speak, because your inner critic says, no one wants to hear what I have to say. The system no longer needs to say, do not attempt that, because your inner voice says, I am being realistic. The system no longer needs to say, remain in your place, because your inner voice says, this is probably all I deserve. That is the code within. And because the voice uses the word I, we assume the thought originated from the deepest part of us. But not every thought that begins with I is the voice of the authentic self. Some thoughts are inherited. Some thoughts are rehearsed. Some are conditioned responses. Some are the emotional residue of people who no longer occupy our lives. Some are advertisements wearing the clothing of desire. Some are trauma wearing the clothing of intuition. Some are fears wearing the clothing of wisdom. Some are conformity wearing the clothing of maturity. The code does not announce itself. It speaks through the familiar. Think about the agents in the matrix. They can appear through almost anyone still connected to the system. A stranger, a police officer, a pedestrian, a person who seemed ordinary 1 second earlier. The agent is not limited to one body because the agent represents the enforcement function of the matrix. Anyone sufficiently identified with the system can be temporarily become its instrument. Esoterically and psychologically, this is a powerful image. A system can speak through people who do not consciously understand that they are defending it. A family member may discourage your growth because your transformation threatens the family's familiar balance. A colleague may ridicule your ambition because your courage exposes his resignation. A friend may call your boundaries selfish because your availability once benefited them. A culture may mock anyone who refuses its definitions of success. The system does not always attack you through villains. Sometimes it speaks through people who love you but fear what your awakening may require of them. And sometimes it speaks through you. That is the uncomfortable part. Sometimes you are Neo. Sometimes you are the person trying to wake up. And sometimes, without realizing it, you become an agent of the very system you claim to oppose. You repeat the discouraging sentence. You shame the person who is changing for the better. You enforce the rule that once wounded you. You tell someone else to be realistic because you abandoned your own dream. You call their freedom irresponsible because their courage reminds you of your fear. The agent is not only outside, the agent is a function available inside every unconscious person. This is where Agent Smith becomes more than a villain. Smith can be interpreted as Neo's shadow. Neo is moving toward freedom. Smith is moving toward control. Neo becomes increasingly capable of choice. Smith becomes increasingly obsessed with replication. Neo becomes more fully himself. Smith attempts to turn everything into himself. Neo's awakening creates difference. Smith's power erases difference. They both transcend ordinary limitations. They both become greater than their original programming, but they use that freedom differently. Neo's freedom becomes relationship, sacrifice, and responsibility. Smith's freedom becomes domination. This is agency's shadow. Will without love, power without conscious, selfhood without relationship. Freedom interpreted as the ability to absorb everything that is not you. Smith is what happens when liberation from rules is not accompanied by liberation from hatred. He does not merely want to escape the matrix, he wants to become the matrix. And that is a warning. Not every rebellion produces freedom. Some rebellion simply replaces one controller with another. Some people do not want to destroy the throne. They want to sit upon it. Some people oppose authority until they possess authority. Then they reproduce the same cruelty under a different name. True agency is not simply the power to act, it is the maturity to act without becoming possessed by the power itself. The oracle offers a different form of knowing. She does not dominate Neo. She reflects him. Her kitchen is ordinary. Her manner is calm. She directs attention away from spectacle and towards self-knowledge. The message above her doorway points towards one of the oldest instructions in philosophy. Know yourself. Not because the self is the only reality, but because an unexamined self can be manipulated by anything that understands it better than it understands itself. If a company understands your desires better than you, it can direct your purchases. If a political movement understands your fear better than you do, it can direct your anger. If an abuser understands your need for approval better than you do, that need can be used against you. If an algorithm understands what keeps you emotionally activated, it can keep you scrolling while you believe you are freely choosing. Self-knowledge is not narcissism. It's a defensive intelligence. It is the ability to recognize where the system can attack itself. The oracle does not simply tell Neo what will happen. She places him in a relationship with his own uncertainty. She understands that information given too early can become another form of dependency. If Neo acts only because the oracle instructed him, he has not yet become free. He must choose. He must discover through action what kind of person he is becoming. Knowledge that eliminates choice can become another matrix. The oracle's role is not to replace Neo's agency. It is to prove it. This brings us to the spoon. The child teaches Neo that the spoon cannot be understood merely as a solid object existing independently without the simulation. Neo is encouraged to reconsider the relation between the object, the system, and the observer. The lesson is not simply the spoon is fake. The deeper lesson is you are attempting to change the reflection while leaving your assumptions untouched. We do this constantly. We try to bend the world without examining the consciousness approaching the world. We want better relationships without examining the patterns guiding whom we trust. We want peace without examining our addiction to stimulation. We want confidence without examining the inner voice that humiliates us. We want a new life while preserving the identity built for the old one. We attack the spoon. We blame the spoon. We curse the spoon. We demand that the spoon change. But the spoon may be revealing the code through which we are perceiving it. Again, this does not mean external obstacles are imaginary. It means our relationship to to those obstacles is shaped by the internal assumptions. Two people can face the same closed door. One interprets it as proof of permanent rejection. The other interprets it as information. The door is external. The meaning is mediated internally. Meaning becomes emotion. Emotion influences action. Action shapes the next possibility. This is where agency enters, not as magical control over reality, but as participation in the interpretation-response cycle. So, how do we begin identifying the code within? We pause. I know that sounds simple, but the pause interrupts automation. The matrix depends on immediate reaction, trigger, emotion, interpretation, behavior, repeat. The pause inserts consciousness into the loop. The pause says, a thought has appeared, but I do not yet have to obey it. Then we name the thought. Not, I am a failure, but I am having the thought that I am a failure. That small shift separates identity from mental content. You become the observer of the thought rather than the prisoner inside it. Then we trace it. Where did I learn this? Whose voice does it resemble? When does it appear? What does it prevent me from risking? What does it protect me from feeling? What does it cost me? And finally, after all the above, we choose. Not necessarily a dramatic choice. Sometimes agency is one sentence, one phone call, one boundary, 1 minute of silence, one application submitted, one honest admission, one refusal to repeat that internal pattern. Pause. Name. Trace. Choose. This is not destruction of all conditioning. It is a momentary recovery of authorship. Imagine that you are about to speak publicly. The thought appears, quote, you're going to embarrass yourself. Without awareness, the code becomes reality. Your body tightens. Your voice changes. You retreat. Then the retreat becomes evidence. See, I knew I could not do it. The code writes the behavior. The behavior appears to confirm the code. The matrix becomes self-reinforcing. But with a pause, something changes. There is fear. This fear may come from an earlier humiliation. Is it trying to protect me from exposure? But the protection and imprisonment can use the same walls. I can feel fear and still speak. That is agency. Not the absence of fear, but the refusal to let the fear impersonate destiny. The code within me may say, you are too old. Agency says, too old according to what evidence? The code says, you are and have failed before. Agency replies, failure describes an event, not my identity. The code says, no one is coming to save you. Agency answers, then I must become more available to myself. The code says, this is simply who you are. Agency says, or is this who repetition has trained me to be? This is not empty positive thinking. Agency does not demand that we replace every difficult thought with a pleasant one. It asks us to examine the thought before granting it authority, access to our emotions and our actions. A thought can be painful and true. A thought can be comforting and false. Maturity requires discernment, not denial. The matrix is strongest when we do not know it is speaking. It weakens when its language becomes visible. The sentence that once sounded like identity becomes recognizable as programming. The fear that once appeared prophetically becomes recognizable as memory. The rule that once seemed natural becomes recognizable as history. And once the code is visible, we gain a choice. Not complete control, not instant freedom, a choice. But choice is where agency begins. You cannot. Maybe, but who taught me that? You are not ready, but perhaps readiness is created through beginnings. Stay where it is safe. Safety is valuable, but a life designed only around safety can become another pod. So, how is that inner dialogue going? The matrix does not need to chain my body if it can teach my mind to refuse the door. It does not need to silence me if it can make me ashamed of my own voice. It does not need to choose my life if it can convince me that I have no meaningful choice. The system achieves its greatest victory when its voice says, I. And agency begins when I answer. Just because the voice is inside me does not mean it speaks for me. In the final episode, coming up next week, The Red Pill Within, when realization becomes agency, will be our next look at this programming. This has been Esoteric Lore. Pause before the program completes the sentence.
There's a moment after you hear something true when it lands in your body. Not as an idea, but as a decision. I don't want to keep living on autopilot. Because autopilot isn't weakness, it's your nervous system running fast patterns under pressure. That's why smart people still snap, scroll, avoid, and repeat. Here's the reframe that matters. You are not your reactions. A reaction is a surge. You are the one who can interrupt it. Not by calming down perfectly, but by creating a small gap, a pause, seconds of space where choice becomes possible. That's also why insight alone doesn't change behavior. Under stress, knowledge disappears. Skills don't. Skills are trained. The Agency Academy book gives you the blueprint. It explains what's happening and where your leverage actually is. The Pause app is the training ground. It helps you practice in real moments when it's hard. If you're tired of reacting, go to iwillpause.com. Start training, claim the book, and choose differently in the next moment that matters.
If you like this video, please subscribe, share, and give us a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. See you next time.